All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. And, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda for May 6th.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, unanimous. And do we have a motion to approve the minutes from April 29th?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are good. All right, school committee chairperson comments. I don't have anything particular tonight, so skip through the comments. Next up, we've got community comments. Is there anybody here in the room tonight that's looking to speak now or versus later? How about online, Sam? Anybody raising their hands? No hands raised? All right. We'll go past community comments. Next up, we've got student comments, and we're going to start with a group from Memorial Elementary School as part of their PLTW projects. Project Lead the Way.
All right, I think the best way for us to do this is to like bring them in front of the table, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So let's have the first graders come on over. And then second graders come on over here. Do you guys want to bring your projects over so that they can look at them? Yes. This is the first grade project, just so that they start talking about it. Okay. Second graders come stand over to that. And it's
Yeah, see.
all right, so thank you for having us here this evening. Tonight, I have Lauren Chuk and our second grade teacher, Mrs. Barasa here. And we brought 7 of our inspired innovators with us to share all about their experiences with Project Lead the Way. So this year we started training our teachers and implementing the Project Lead the Way modules at most of our grade levels. We have another training coming up at the end of this week and into next week. And by the end of that, I believe we'll have most of our teachers trained to be able to teach the modules to our students. So I just want to give a shout out to Katie Dutton, who is our in-house trainer. She took the Train the Trainer program and is now in the process of teaching all of our teachers how to implement Project Lead the Way with our students. For those of you who are familiar with Project Lead the Way, it's an engaging cross-curricular problem and project-based learning experience. Would you all agree it was the offer to solve problems, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That provides our students with an opportunity to develop both the critical content knowledge that they need while also supporting the development of our district's portrait of a learner skills. So through this presentation, you'll see how even our district's youngest learners are becoming inspired innovators, right? By solving problems, building on one another's ideas, learning from failed attempts, improving their plans, and being flexible thinkers. I'd like to introduce you. I'm going to start with our first graders, Brody Girton, Haley Lozo, and Ella Malloy. And our second graders, Quentin Carmichael, Nolan Kenny, Madeline Pierce, and Lennon White, who will share about their unit on animal adaptations in first grade and states of matter in second grade. Are you going to speak after that? Okay, so first graders, go ahead.
My class did Project Lead the Way. We learned about animal adaptation. Each of us made a poster for our environment. We researched, we designed, and made a shoe inspired by animals. My friends went to the Amazon rainforest, African savanna, the Arctic, and Sahara Desert with our shoes. My favorite part was making my shoes. I traveled to the Amazon rainforest. My shoes has pom-poms or camouflage, just like a chameleon skin. I also used cling wrap for protection. My favorite thing was making the shoes. I traveled to the Amazon rainforest. My shoe has pictures or locomotion, just like a bird. I also used markers for class. I used Luma for
Yeah. Hi there. My name is Brittany Barassa. I teach these awesome group of second graders. Just wanted to give you a little overview about the unit that we did. During the unit, I had the privilege of observing students engaged in deep and critical thinking. They not only tackled the problem at hand, but they also delved into the underlying content and skills. Using the design process, the entire design process, students engineered prototypes that addressed a real-world problem. The unit was engaging, interactive, collaborative, and delightfully messy. Very messy. In addition, right, you agree?
Yeah.
In addition to the critical thinking occurring, the lessons seamlessly integrated into other content areas. Each lesson included a writing component where students were required to use descriptive language to reflect upon their ideas and share their learning. Students were also required to use their computation skills to compare temperatures and liquid measurements. Lastly, and this is my favorite part, the final project encouraged students to use their growth mindsets and help them to understand that, like engineers and scientists, success often comes through perseverance and improvement. Months later, students are continuing to make connections to this unit. Recently, I conducted interviews with the students about their experiences in this unit. We wrote their responses, and today they're excited to share their experiences and their prototypes. All right, Miss Madeline, start us off.
We were going for a soccer game on the one day they brought ice pops but forgot the cooler and it was really cute. We had to find a way to stop the ice pops from melting so the soccer team. First, we learned about 3 different states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Next, we learned about reversible and irreversible changes. A reversible change is when something can change back to its original form, like an ice pop. We had to learn what materials were conductors and insulators. We did an experiment with 3 trials to test which materials would work best for our prototypes. A conductor is a material that lets heat through, and an insulator is something that blocks the flow of heat. To make our prototypes, we used recycling materials that we found at home. We collected materials that would be good insulators like foam, bubble wrap, and cardboard. Before we built our prototypes, we had to work together to sketch our designs. We then went shopping for materials and made our own design. Before our final test, we used a lamp and thermometer to test how well our prototypes worked. After we were allowed to make some changes to our prototype to make them better. To test our prototypes, we put the frozen ice pop in the prototypes. We waited 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, we checked our ice pops and they were all frozen, so we had to wait longer. After another 20 minutes, we tested our prototypes. We opened the ice pops and poured out the liquid that had melted into a cylinder. Measured how much liquid there wasn't a lot of liquid, so our prototypes were.
Do you have any questions?
What was your favorite part of the project?
Making the prototype. Because it was the funnest part for that.
Do you guys want to grab your prototypes and show them to us real quick?
Go ahead.
Excellent. So what's inside of that?
Pillow, bubble wrap, and foam.
Awesome. Very good.
Okay, and then we opened it, we decided to cover the ice pop, so we had it diagonal and then we covered it.
Wow. Very cool. Excellent.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Good job. All right. Excellent. Guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We've got Hannah and Phelan here, some big shoes to follow.
I know,
We
right?
got some updates from the high school.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so this past Saturday, Nipmuc's Best Buddies chapter attended the annual Best Buddies Walk in Worcester in Fuller Park. The Best Buddies Friendship Walk is the leading event in the country supporting inclusion for people with intellectually and developmentally disabilities. Nipmuc and Misco partnered together to create one big Mendon-Upton team, raising over $3,200, which was the fourth highest amount from all the high schools in Massachusetts, making us in the top 5 supporters, receiving recognition on the Jumbotron and back of t-shirts displayed throughout the day. Best Buddies has become the second largest club here at Nipmuc, and we were lucky enough to be joined by our special education department, not only at Nipmuc, but also at Misco, and a lot of our executive board and students in the club at Nipmuc. And there was even a small clip on the news covering the event where I made my TV debut. Not my first, yeah, not my last, but yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and we'll definitely be doing it again with our executive board.
Congrats, that's awesome.
So last Saturday, we had our drama guild performance, so we had one acts. I was in Alien Cheerleaders and Underwood Party, which was really fun. Each play won different awards for different things, but Aliens versus Cheerleaders did win the favorite. So that was drama guild, and this week we're gonna have our first e-board meeting for the following year to try and decide our musical. We're hoping to decide by the end of this school year. Furthermore, we also recently had a multicultural night, which was an amazing experience. We had it last Thursday. We had a lot of student performances, a wide variety of tables and activities, and a lot of people that came. Also, our MC, Lauren Scott, did a spectacular job performing social with us on piano and singing at the beginning and introducing all the dances. Furthermore, this week is kind of busy. We have prom, testing, anything but a backpack day today. And next week we have National Honor Society elections. So wrapping up the school year, a lot of stuff.
Excellent. Sounds great. Any questions? Cool. Well, thank you very much. And Dr. Phelan, this is your last one for graduation.
I'm gonna try to hold back the tears. It's a sad day here.
That's all.
The good news
Very
is it's
sad
an
day.
open meeting, you can come back any. And you can just keep
Going
coming.
back to the last.
We do have a burning gift for you.
Thank you.
Over to Fallon.
Thank you so much.
So we know it's her last meeting. We're really appreciative. We just, put this in, having students, starting in junior year and senior year. Yeah, you can figure that out. But we can't thank you enough for your commitment, dedication, and
Nothing better than a blanket.
amending up.
You know, thank you so much. I know, right? I need to represent. So, New Hampshire. And for every morning. Thank you so much.
Don't forget us. But thank you. You've done a great job and set a great, been a good role model as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Hey,
Dr. Cohen, it's all yours.
yeah, so now we get to continue with more fun stuff. We're gonna talk a little bit about some budget updates and health insurance updates. Jay.
Yeah.
This is my update, but Do you mind coming up to that?
I was hiding it.
Well, you are, but it is officially mine. I wasn't gonna make them, but if you have questions, then I'll just have them up here. If any questions come up after. So just to,
Get a gift.
the gift we're sharing every day, yeah. Just to let you know, and I think I may have put put this in a memo, but the Senate Ways and Means Committee released its budget proposal on May, not 7, yes, 7th. Sorry about that. And the chapter 70 calculations were the same as those that were in the House budget. The House had raised an increase from the governor's statutory $30 per pupil and raised it up to 104. And unfortunately, there still wasn't an increase in the regional transportation we have dropped by like 4%, I think, for reimbursement from last year to this year. But we were hoping that would go up and help us out a little bit, and that happened. So it's remaining the same. We've got a couple advocacy notifications late this afternoon about some, bills that are going through to contact senators, related to a couple items that impact schools, but I would say anything that particularly pertains to us as a regional school district wasn't really on the table from what I could see updates. Any questions on that? Okay.
So 30 to 104, that's what does that net out to for us ultimately?
They added about 150,000.
So we're hoping that stays through the process. Hopefully it will. It's better than the minus 150 is where we started. So heading in the right direction, yeah. I just wanted to give you an update. This is something that happened recently. I was watching another school committee presentation related to budget forecasting and reached out and we spoke with just last week, a gentleman named Pat Collins, who's recently retired just from the year. He had been a business manager for a number of years and worked in a number of districts, and he had just done a 5-year forecasting of a budget for another school district. So I reached out to see if, what it would cost and if it's something he'd be interested in doing. So he's starting, just because he just started his retirement, doing a little bit of consulting. And so what I'm going to do is I wanted to give you an update on that. I know it's something that we've been talking about, particularly heading into next year's budget, which we know we've identified will be more challenging than this year. And we thought an external expert to come in and look at the information as well might be helpful for us. For the timing, we thought it might make sense to have them come in and probably present in August, so in the summer, because we have to provide a lot of information. So we'll give them the information, we'll work with him, and then in one of those August meetings, he'd be able to do it. I want to do it early enough to kind of see if there's anything else pops up that we haven't already addressed. So between now, we have time. I just wanted to bring it forward. And I got great reviews from about him, and I can get you more information on his background too as we get.
Cool.
Let's see. We are still continuing to provide information to our staff regarding health insurance option that we've been reviewing and presenting on here the last couple of months. It would bring reduced cost to our members, and it would also have a budgetary reduction for our district as well. As we mentioned before, going back to March, we had that $1.1 million estimated budget deficit that we brought forward in the open budget hearing, and we have reduced some line items, frozen hiring in some of the positions. We're looking at all of our grant funds to meet some of the budget reductions, but the largest area would be related to this health insurance if it goes through, because it would remove the deductibles, which is, that's the loan is close to 430,000. Saying something wrong? Good, look at me, I'm getting it. And the plan, when they came forward, the plan was a 12.5% increase, and the one that we're looking at is a 6% increase, so we can save members. We held so in my weekly memo to staff, I don't know if you saw it, I know you guys get it too. What we did is we tried to provide some additional information to staff that we had already shared with other members. We had the health insurance meeting at 3:30 today, went a little bit over an hour. About 50 staff members, teachers and staff joined. It was a really
they always get very much in the weeds in a good way because they know health insurance so much, but it was a really informative. I learned a few new things too, and I've been to a few of these presentations. There were only a few questions that came up and they were able to easily answer them. And we recorded it so we can send that out to members who didn't have that opportunity because it was a quick turnaround. We received the request like last Thursday to see if we could pull it off, and Jay reached out right away, and that's why we wanted to do it right away today. We recorded it, and then what Jay and I are going to do, we scheduled, and I put it in my memo, meetings to attend all of the buildings. So starting tomorrow, we'll be at Memorial Elementary School before school, and we have meetings before and after school tomorrow and the next day. That way, if anybody has any additional questions, even if people, and we said this in the meeting today, they can always just send an email to us and ask us any questions. And if it's something we can't answer, we'll definitely reach out to the health insurance, reps as well to answer that. We're getting close to the next board meeting that they had for health insurance, which is coming up in the next week. And that's why we're continuing to try to get more information out and answer questions. So hopefully we'll be able to, have a positive outcome in that area. So that's my brief little update on that, and wanted to tell you about our meeting today. Did I miss anything that you think I should have? Awesome. Do you guys have any questions related to the health insurance or meeting today or anything related to that?
I guess at a high level, just
Yeah.
to my understanding, so this health insurance is for teachers that are part of the union, our paras, maintenance, and administrators as well.
We are impacted by it just.
So
like
everybody,
So we
everybody's in
haven't-
the same boat
Yeah.
on the health insurance plan. And so given the fact that this impacts you guys personally.
Yeah.
So you're kind of on both sides of the fence with this, as doing what's best for the district, but also what's best for yourselves to a degree. What do you guys think? Is this gonna be better, the same, cheaper, more expensive?
It's definitely less expensive.
Yeah,
And-
it's less expensive. I think as far as coverage, service, benefits, it's basically identical. Anyways, what this company can do is it can take your scheduled benefits and duplicate it exactly. And they may have another client that has a different scheduled benefits and they will do it differently for them. So they customize it to us as a group. I mean, me personally, yeah, it's gonna save me some money, and I'm at an age where I do have some healthcare needs as, kind of the oldest person in the area right now.
And wisest.
Oh, okay, we'll go with it. So, I mean, I would not steer the district in a direction that they should go because it's better for the district, but it's also better for me as well. It's not like we have a different plan today.
And in the beginning, we only knew a little bit about it, but we've been through many iterations. And even today, I learned something new about an app that you can have that uses AI and you can answer questions. I learned that part of the management is out of a group right in Westboro, where if you have questions or concerns, you can call them and they talk and they explain overall why the cost is reduced because of the administrative costs. And it was a long answer he gave, but
Right.
like the crux of it, when they gave numbers, like, oh, okay, now I better understand why there's the savings, which I couldn't necessarily explain that even as well a couple weeks ago. I love that we're not gonna have, right now with our deductibles, even though the district's, paying for them the way our plan is right now, we have to go through this HRC and like our bills sometimes, so you keep getting bills at your home that eventually get paid, but there's this delay. And so sometimes you could get multiple bills and that all of that will go away. I find that alone, I think would be great, for me when I think about that. So there were definitely some things that they pointed out that I didn't know in the beginning of this process.
I mean, they did talk about a couple of specific fees that Harvard Pilgrim and all insurance companies charge. And I think what they said was that Harvard Pilgrim's one fee was $900,000. This company's fee is $200,000. That's a $700,000 difference right there in overhead costs that we realize because of the uses of premiums.
So that's where a lot of the savings come from, is that.
Those are two of the big areas. There are two things. There's also, they charge an administrative fee of like Harvard Pilgrim, I think it's $90 per person. This company, it's $40 per person.
Right, that stood out to me.
It's
Yeah.
it's a smaller company, but it has a larger group, and because you're part of this larger group, you kind of spread out pain, so to speak, as well as benefits. So all in all, I mean, the thing you have to remember is when you have a plan like Harvard Pilgrim like you currently have. Let's say a family membership or an HMO is $35,000 a year, but if you don't have $35,000 worth of medical expenses, you're paying the $35,000 anyway. In this case, if we don't have that, we get to save that. So that's the advantage to self-funding, is that you get to customize it, and you basically are paying the cost, and you've got insurance to cover the excessive, you know, the high claim thing. I think 150,000 is the cap.
Yep.
And then this policy kicks in to cover those things.
That's the loss risk
Yeah,
insurance.
stop.
Yeah.
loss, yeah.
And one thing they brought up today that, they probably mentioned it before, but was that if you have people who are on a PPO, and I'm not on one, so I'm not as familiar with it, but sometimes people will go on a PPO because they're, you know, children go to school or they travel a lot, and it expands your coverage, I guess. And what they talked about is when you go to this plan, because it's part of the national network of United Healthcare,
Right.
that you have the most popular coverage across all the states. So a lot of people then can get rid of the PPO, or they choose to do that themselves. And then that's a huge reduction if that you go for them from the PPO to an HMO as well. And that's one thing that I thought was interesting, that they talked about happens a lot when people switch over to this plan. And you also won't need referrals anymore too, with this plan. So that's a benefit that sometimes people, you know, worry about that. So yeah, there was a very few downsides, and somebody asked that question. So it was a good presentation today. Follow up, and hopefully people, if they have questions. We know anything that it's a change evokes a lot of nervousness, anxiety, you know, it's not a decision we take lightly, but those are good questions.
Jay, so what was, if you could remind me what the deficit was without the health insurance change, and then with it and including the now per pupil increase? Do you have those numbers or?
Well, so the per pupil increase that we got is about 150, but that's not final. So right now we're hoping it stays, but you know, the Senate has to vote and then they have to put it all together. Our deficit was around 1.1 million to start. This adjustment in the plan will save the district approximately $700,000. With the 150, if that holds as well, now you're up to 850,000, so you've only got about a $250,000 shortfall still to overcome.
And we're still pulling out of other resources. to
Yes.
Fill that gap.
Yes, or you know, in one way or another, we will be able to manage that, but it's a lot easier to manage a $250,000 shortfall than a $1.1 million shortfall, and try not to impact, you know, what we're doing as a school district. Because that's the goal, you know, the goal is to try to continue what we continue to do.
Well, I hope it takes. It sounds like it's a win-win, and I think, you know, ultimately it'll help save a lot of positions in the district as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's a better benefit and continues to support the district. Right.
Did you get the sense that staff got their questions answered?
Yeah, there were only like 4 questions that came up. I mean, granted, there was, you know, about 50 people, so there are a lot of people that might have questions that just couldn't make it. We know it was a short turnaround for getting this, but we didn't want to wait till later on in the week just because of the timeline. What we've been trying to do is compile any of the frequently asked questions, and we're hoping that people, if they have a quick question, they can come and ask us. I know they haven't hesitated at times to just reach out to Jay, and then, or even the administrators, like we went over all this with the principals as well, so they could answer questions at the building level when we're not there. But it's just more kind of a uneasiness, unsure, not knowing enough kind of feeling, I think, is what's been expressed to us. So if they have access to more information, maybe that will help alleviate that. But it's understandable because it feels, everyone says we love our healthcare. We do, you know, what we have for health insurance, rather, that we do love it, and it will remain the same. It's just it's a different structure of how it's managed. That's all, but it's hard to communicate that broadly to everyone.
Great.
Yep. What I have for you. I was also going to speak for events about multicultural night, but Hannah did a great job with that. We had probably the auditorium was completely full at Nipmuc with families and students. So and oh, that's right, we added all the extra chairs. So I think if I were to guess, we had at least 600 people or more at the event, including the students, and then a couple hundred of the students, we had sit all in the front. We had more food trucks than we've had in the past, and that was really well received. We might even want to bring more because there were so many people when they came out, the lines are always long, and some actually started to run out of food. I guess at one or two of them, because there were so many. We had, people bring in some food as well inside, and that we ran out of that because there were so many people. The tables were spaced pretty well in the cafeteria. It does get crowded because there's so many people, but fortunately the weather held out. So there are a lot of kids who were able to go outside as well and run around, which they need to do, and come back in. It was a huge addition to have the Nipmuc, some Nipmuc students here playing music. We might put them outside, but it was a really nice touch. The performances were longer than we thought with our schedule. So I will say that it was supposed to be more like a half an hour. So we'll work, we have a feedback form going out so we can kind of improve that, but it was about an hour of performances, or some of it was like reading out loud as well. We brought in a few, different cultures beyond just Spanish immersion, which was really nice to see. And our goal is to expand it and get more community members every year. We had, Upton Library representatives there as well. So I would say it was a huge success. And I had a number of community members come up and talk to me, but they saw me at the event to thank us just for offering the event, and the kids had a great time. So I will admit I teared up when the Olympic song was playing and all the students were coming in with their flags and marching in.
Waving their flags.
Yeah. I had a moment, I didn't, was it waterworks, but I had just when you watch the Olympics, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I had a similar kind of moment of like, this is amazing, like we have all these countries, I'm like, this is amazing, you have all these students and this big event. It was, that was pretty neat. And
Somewhere so that when you're watching is not to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Part of the show is like start crying.
Right.
Because like it is so sweet, like watching the little kids do the little dancing. It's just so sweet.
yeah, so it was awesome night, and I think we'll just keep making it better. And before I move on, I just really have to thank the members of the Spanish immersion who've actually brought in the additional volunteers. Last year was our first year where we kind of were revamping it a bit, and kind of brought this team together through that board. It expanded this year, and they took over and had a really well-oiled machine to get volunteers and get people to help out. And they just put so much time and energy into it. And I'm just really thankful to them, and will be personally thanking them again when I see them. But they did an awesome job. So we couldn't have done it without them. And I wanted to let you know, I received on Friday, we may have mentioned that we applied and would likely get this, but we received the official notification on Friday that we received the Vacation Acceleration Academies Grant Award for $110,000. And that's for running the summer learning program. So thank you to Cheryl for writing that grant again and managing that, and with the teachers that she works with. So we'll keep you, updated on that in the future. And then finally, I was so impressed by, and I don't know if you saw it when it went out to like MISCO, but I caught it this time that Nick Cuomo, the assistant principal at MISCO, put out a PBL news update. And in it, to all the staff, it was highlighting the project-based learning taking place at MISCO Middle School. And as we talked about in the past, was one of our goals to have students, receive 2 more opportunities this coming month. So a lot tends to be sometimes in the springtime. We have in 5th grade, Equity at MISCO, 5th grade, Water Filter Challenge, 6th grade, Museum of Achievement, Stats of Studying, and Amusement Park Project, 7th grade, Real World Sampling, and 5th and 6th grade, Courtyard Redesign. So if you look at those grades, I'm sorry, I'm missing the ones on the bottom, 8th grade, Inclusive Playground, and 6th grade, By This, which is a music one. We've expanded, had tons of training. We have a student survey that students will take at the end that's aligned to high quality PBL framework and key success skills in collaboration, critical thinking, communication. And we have upcoming events that include a PBL workshop on June 3rd for the trained teachers. And we're seeking summer proposals. We've also partnered with Blackstone Valley and had some coaching come in just in the past month or so to help work with our teachers and also offer additional training. And so thanks for all the hard work for our PBL team at MISCO, for Cheryl and the PD committee, and the work that they've done to bring in additional supports. It's something that it is never perfect the first time. It's a lot of just going back, getting feedback, just like in the project, you're getting lots of feedback and going through that cycle. Same thing's happening for our teachers when they get feedback and come back to it. But a lot of great highlights that just came out, and I want to make sure you heard about that too.
All those projects are just this month?
Yeah, finishing out this year in different classes. Yeah. And what they did, and it was linked in like some of the evidence I shared before, they started it last year and created a schedule so people would know when they're doing things. And so you can see kind of where and what grade levels they are and the different weeks. It could be that one is like the first week of May, one's the first week of June, but there's a lot of springtime ones, and some have already started, so like I've already seen, like when we talk about the inclusive playgrounds or the designs out there, I see students, last year they did the equity one and students came and presented, I know to me, to Jay, to Cheryl on different things that they thought could be work at the middle school, and those were great. So they usually present that right at the end of the school year.
We already see a project, is that a different grade that was doing?
They do it twice.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they do it twice. So because it's at the tech course, you have different students that do it. So we had one, and then you have a second group of students that are doing the same project. And that's a project lead the way project as well as part of the course. So in our expansion of Project Lead the Way, we started at the middle school and a lot of the tech classes in summer and some of our science classes as well. We're looking at the high school to see opportunities for expanding some of it up, and we've been working on now expanding down to elementary, which you saw today. Yeah, that's a good question though, because it's more that they do in front of us.
Paying attention.
That's good. That's fast.
I just remember seeing like a little popsicle stick roller coaster presentation. Like I was looking,
Yeah.
I was trying.
And they've been doing that for a while, so the kids go through and do that, which is great. So that's all I had. So up next we have Cheryl's going to give a presentation, a teaching and learning update. Nice.
While Sam's getting that up, I will just start by saying this is my favorite kind of presentation because it's like end of the year updates, all the interesting, exciting, amazing things that all of the educators in the district do when they're not teaching and supporting your children. and it's so much. And so I really had a hard time kind of thinking about like what were some of the things to highlight, because of course we're not going to talk about all of the things. Don't worry, Eric. I'm gonna start my thing now.
I already started, Cheryl, don't worry.
No, but I figured we'd talk about like 3 critical areas and I'd give a chance. And some of this stuff I think has been a good kind of through line through the whole year, but it'll give me a chance to kind of dive a little deeper. Here's a couple of things that I think are particularly exciting and maybe a little bit new. So thanks, Sam. So of course, all of the things that we do in the district, we align to the strategic priorities in the district. And I figured I'd start with this for 2 reasons. One, so that I could highlight and kind of pop out what's in the foreground with some of these critical areas. And so I'm going to try to hit on 3 of them. And in addition to this, I hope there are a few things that kind of resonate in terms of like this presentation. One being the critical importance of teachers helping other teachers and the importance of teacher leadership. 2 being the use of data that kind of like permeates a lot of the things that we're doing. And three being the attention to like the whole experience of the child. So even though I'm highlighting some of these things, and you can flip to the next slide. The story that we'll start with supporting ongoing instructional growth, which I situated in deeper learning as a strategic priority. But quite honestly, I can't really tease it out. And I've said this to Maureen a couple of times between this and high quality curriculum instruction and equity and inclusion. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'll start there. And one of the reasons why is because so much of what we talk about in this district, as you have been witness to today, is about transforming learning experiences into things that kids really have to problem solve and figure and learn by experimenting. And we expect that to happen all over the place, not just in science. But this was a great kind of like precursor to this presentation, as was the discussion about PBL, because really these are all deeper learning frameworks and formats of the types of learning experiences that we'd like our kids to be involved in. And we have been supporting this in a few ways. One has been the expansion of learning walks. We've done learning walks in this district a ton. When I first got here, learning walks were a fundamental part of the mentoring and induction program, kind of on the premise that watching your colleagues teach is one of the best learning experiences that you can have, and a budget-friendly one too, right? And so this year we expanded that. Actually, the mentoring and induction program still really embraces the learning walks. And this year, instead of doing it 3 times, once in our district, we actually did it 5 times because, of course, the number of new teachers across the collaboration that we work with is larger. We hosted 2 of those times. And I think it's super important to call out the amazing educators all across the district who like just open their doors for the learning of other people, some of whom they don't even know, right? And so folks get to walk into their classroom, and this year they were armed with a framework that I'll show you. That's part of our efforts to kind of create a definition of deeper learning for our district. So we do that. We've done co-teaching learning walks this year. We've also recently just done learning walks in Wayland with our Spanish immersion program. Also, Memorial School has been doing learning walks internally as well. So I feel like it's catching on, and this is a great way to kind of have conversations among educators where they can literally the next day go back and say, I saw this really cool way of presenting this information. I want to bring it into my class.
So is that disruptive to the classroom at all? Having like the kids having just.
That's a great question.
Out of the school, just like walk in and like start serving for
Yeah.
20
So
minutes.
I would have thought so, you know, I came from another district where I was like, yeah, we kind of had to like do all these kind of like conversations before we went in to see if we could do this. And when I got here, this is just a little like sense of your district, the district. I got here, I asked, like, is it okay to just walk into classrooms? Like, you know, people don't know me yet. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I feel like that's really been a part of the culture here. So when you ask if it's disruptive, sure, it could be, especially having like, you know, 3 or 4 people. What we try to do is we try to limit the groups. So there's a lot of coordination going on behind the scenes, even though it's low budget, it's not low effort, right? And we create small groups. We have a bunch of protocols and norms where we basically say, here's what you can and can't do. You can't interrupt the teacher. The only time you can talk to the teacher is if the teacher you're spoken to. You can't talk to the kids unless the kids are involved in something where like you can ask them a question about what they're doing. And so those are the types of things that like make it so that it's not distracting and disruptive. So this is the framework that we used. We created this actually as a part of our instructional partner program this year. And one of the things that I know you've seen the kind of graphic before, but one of the things that I think is super cool to point out in the frame of this meeting is that this framework, a work in progress, is a derivative of frameworks that we have looked at and are using in so many other different ways that are deeper learning experiences and are in fact an effort to kind of combine the concepts of deeper learning and inclusivity with the idea through this instructional partners group that if we can start to refine the characteristics of deeper learning and at the same time create look-fors about what inclusive deeper learning looks like, then we can share it with people in the same conversation and they won't be two separate things that we're asking people to do. So that I feel very proud of this group for. They've worked really hard on like a first iteration of these look-fors. And this is the type of tool that we use in these walkthroughs to kind of capture our observations. So you can flip again. And this is to highlight the work of this group instructional partners. Another, I would say, budget-friendly way of creating instructional leadership opportunities. And this is internal, how we, in this district, a district that isn't steeped in curriculum coordinators or coaches, right? Where we can basically tap into the expertise and the skills of our own educators and say, look, would you be willing to help your colleagues think about their instruction in a different way? And so we have this group that meets monthly, that created this framework, that have all this year created plans for their group. And we've been part of, with Colleen jumping right in, like part of a PLC that we end up talking about skills that teachers may or may not have, given that they're working with kids a lot, but now they're going to be working with adults. And they have all created plans for next year that will help their schools kind of think about instructional improvement that's right for them and associated with this deeper learning framework. So you switch next bit. Curriculum and adjusting curriculum and aligning curriculum. This is another big critical area in this that teachers have been working hard on, and another area where we really rely on teacher leadership in terms of our department chairs and curriculum assistants. We have this year reestablished curriculum review cycles, which were disrupted as a result of the pandemic. We have really focused people on curriculum mapping, and that's starting to really gain traction again. And we're also adjusting to new standards, and I'm going to use the example of our health curriculum, PE curriculum, to kind of take you through this. So if you switch again. This is a graphic that I think you've seen, and this is us laying out 5-year curriculum review cycles. The reason why we do this is because it's important to kind of create a stage or stages where each department can think about a new part of their curriculum. At one point, they're looking at the resources that they have, and they're thinking about whether or not the resources and the way that they've laid out the scope and sequence fits the vision of what they're trying to accomplish. Then they may acquire resources, and at that point, they need to weave the resources and create new units around their standards so that they can create a scope and sequence and then align it with each other. And so these phases take them through it in a way that's reasonable for the district so that not everyone's doing it all at once. You switch again. And this is this is an example of something that we're doing currently, because recently the physical education and health standards have been adjusted. And so this department, for example, has gone through a process where they've started to notice what's different about the old standards and the new standards. And if you switch again, they're also going to take a look at them and they're going to start to map them out grade by grade, which grade addresses which standard and how, so that we can create ultimately vertical maps that will build on the skills that are part of the standards from year to year, and that educators will be able to look and say, this is the stuff that we need to focus on this year. And the next year's educators will be able to say, oh, I know what they're coming with this year. So we go again. And this slide I'm throwing in there because I feel like data is a key part of this. And so one of the things that we did this year, as you know, is we started inquiry cycles early in the year, where we took a look at MCAS. MCAS, of course, is standards-based data for us. It gives us a sense of what standards our students are doing super well in and what standards they might not be doing as well as we'd expect. And this becomes a part of the conversation when we look at curriculum and we say to ourselves, well, where are we teaching that? And do we need to make adjustments in either what we're teaching or how long we're teaching it or how we're teaching it? So and if you go back, this is an example of an open architects display that we've been like developing. And I just want to show you some of the displays. Like this is not active, so you can't click on it. We're working on getting some like presentation style dashboards. But if you were able to, you'd be able to click on any of the dots on the scatter plot. It would bring you to that specific student's data. You'd be able to click on a bar of the bar graph, and it would essentially do the analysis for that group of students right there. So this becomes a super, a really important tool in the arsenal of our educators to be able to do these standards analysis. There's an item analysis at the end of it, and the group is also working on a standards analysis for next year. And so this is the last part of my update, and this one I think is, you know, everything is exciting to me, the stuff that I just said, but this is really like, I feel like we've made so much traction in this area. So the things that I wanted to highlight are annual SEL assessments, which is a part of something that I've been hoping to present for a while. The systemic student supports, which is very much related to supporting students and in that realm and knowing the whole student and improving the access to data, if you switch. So this is one quick slide that I've created to show you a little bit about our panorama assessment. So I've been the last couple of years sharing a presentation with you about the highlights of it. And this year I looked at the data and I was like, okay, there needs to be a different kind of twist to this because we've been doing it a number of years. Instead of going and presenting the same old day, what I'll try to do is a cohort analysis. But I couldn't because the platform didn't allow me to do it. So I had to pick the data out of the platform and create a cohort analysis, which is a little tedious. One of the things I'm hoping to do with Open Architects is basically say, look, we want a cohort analysis. Can you create this for us? But what this does for you just in a snapshot is it basically shows you a cohort, right? So they were in grade 5 in 2021, and right now they're in grade 8. And it shows you the aggregate of each of the indicators that I put here. And I only put 4 of them because when I had 6 lines on it, it was a little crazy looking and stuff. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things. I wanted to highlight, first of all, some of the things that our kids that are doing super well in, and your eyes might gravitate to the top of the graph, but that would actually be not exactly the right way to look at it, except for the fact that the top of the graph is good. Okay, but the bottom of the graph is good too, actually. So, but the top of the graph will show you the cohort trend for self-management, for example, which I look at, it's a little arced, but like in general, kind of flat. Okay, like there's not really a trend that you can see in that. As opposed to that, supportive relationships has a clear trend. It's going up each year. And that I think is a reason to be proud. Okay, like if our kids grow and move from 5th grade to 8th grade, and over that time, their perception of supportive relationships grows, that's really good. And both of those areas have supportive relationships and self-management. When you compare us to national percentiles, we're up there. We're in the 85th percentile. It's the trajectory that I think is even more important. Okay. Over here, we've got self-efficacy. That's the blue. And I put that up there, and he's not here, but Sean loves this, right? So I had to put self-efficacy up there. And emotional regulation, you can see over here too. So in both cases, the curve doesn't go in the same direction each time, and so it raises questions about like, well, what are we seeing here? However, one thing that I think is really interesting is that emotional regulation is in the 90th percentile across national for a national percentile. That's amazing. And so you might look at these percentages and be like, wait, what? But when you compare us to other districts that are taking the same assessment for kids that age, that's an indicator that our kids are doing really well in this area. And when it comes to self-efficacy, actually, that's one of our areas of growth. Okay, that's something that I think that we know we need to work on as we've been looking at this. And you can hear conversations across the district talking about how we help kids to believe in their abilities and believe that they can do things. And, so I think you'll hear more about that as we continue. So, all right, that's my data thing. I'm gonna hurry up.
All good.
All right, so this is a snapshot about our systemic student supports. We're in year 2 of this partnership. We've got 1 more year left with the Rennie Center, Boston College, and DESE. This partnership brings teams together at every single one of our schools to effectively create a systems and structures that allow us to get to know the whole student. They run us through a process whereby that they call whole student reviews. And I feel like to a school, they've been able to adapt to what the schools really think are important and some of the systems and structures that are already in the schools. I put this graph together because I was sitting, they do every year a self-assessment for the teams. And so I was sitting in on one of them. This was at Nipmuc, and the photos from Nipmuc too. Oh, and DESE came. They like watched our, it was everywhere last week. They really love them. Yeah. So DESE came, that's somebody from DESE, and she was just watching the process and stuff. And they self-assessed, and the red is the self-assessment for this year. And what I wanted to show you is, are we there where we want to be with knowing all of our students? No, we're working on it, and we're getting better in 1 year by leaps and bounds. And that's really important. And I'm looking forward to next year, because next year, a lot of this work will really get introduced in a big way to the rest of the staff. So a lot of it has been like working in these small teams to kind of iron out the process, but looking forward to next year for this. This is an example of a dashboard that we created in Open Architects. This is Nipmuc's version. Every school gets to make adaptations to their own version to support the S3. And some of the things that I just wanted to point out are, you've got the academic data here, which you can click on the same. You've got some trend lines that show, you give a sense of what is, whether or not the data is better than you'd expect or not as good as you'd expect. Again, it's all clickable. You also have information on this about students' grades, which we can look at in conjunction with their test scores, their career interests, their college application acceptances, attendance, their panorama results, and their results in comparison to averages. This display is the type of thing that I would really like to work on, that I think is way better than what our platform gives us. And then this is my favorite part, honestly, and if you can't see the kids, like there are lists of kids here, but here we have put links to certain areas of PowerSchool and also to the Portrait of a Learner presentations that the freshmen are doing. So the teachers will be able to go in, click on their students, access their Portrait of a Learner presentations, access information from them that they get that tells them about their strengths and interests. And one of the teachers in the group actually even had this amazing idea of having the kids record an introduction of themselves where they're pronouncing their name, right? that we can just put an audio clip right in this dashboard. And, you know, all the teachers will be able to know exactly how the student pronounces their name. Okay. So here's where we're looking ahead. There's a lot left to do, but if I have to highlight some of the things that I think that you could look forward to, I'm looking forward to another year with our instructional partners and the plans that they've created, and I can't wait to bring them back to have them share with you how they're kind of rolling this out with their colleagues. I'm looking forward to refining the Learning Walks tool and getting better with and digging deeper into some of the areas that I know the schools are interested in, authenticity and agency among them. Aligning and adjusting the curriculum, I'm looking forward to supporting the teacher leaders, the department chairs and curriculum assistants more in terms of professional learning on data inquiry and also on curriculum review mapping and focusing on essential questions and assessment, which I feel like really dovetails nicely in our work with deeper learning. I'm also looking forward to continued access improvements, showing you some of the highlights as we go through our text. And then with knowing the whole student, we've got year 3 of S3 up ahead. We're looking forward to refreshing our MTSS behavioral expectations across some of our schools and also developing our SEL curriculum and interventions that will come out of some of the work that we're doing with our curriculum.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll give you my inner Sean. I mean, I love all the data, I love those dashboards. I love the grids. It's really, really great stuff. I mean, we talked about it before, so I won't go into it, but the fact that you're pulling all the resources into one, it's a big data exercise, the data exists. The ability to be able to show, use it, and make it accessible to teachers in an easy manner is awesome. Okay.
And just a point of clarification, teachers have access to the Open Architects data for all of their students in their classroom.
They do. There is a little bit of like a hiccup with rostering, which we have with every platform, because so many of our educators don't have students rostered through the student information system. They serve broadly. And so there's some, you know, I would not be being truthful if I wasn't saying there were hiccups, but we're able to, you know, address those hiccups just by somebody emailing and saying, you know, I can't get access to so-and-so. So that's for the most part.
If they don't have a classroom per se of students, we had to roster separate. So someone who is forming in a different role, it just changed things. So finding manually and giving them the access that they need. Some people need multiple building access. So it depended on their role and what they needed, that we would just make adjustments as needed. But they all have access and it's used pretty regularly.
So if I'm a, it's used these words, I was trying to script, I'm a traditional 7th grade math teacher. I have 24 kids in my class. Like, you could pull that up every week if you wanted and see what's going on, because that roster is pretty solid. It's the folks that are coming and going, yeah, I got it.
And it's generally those folks that's only in the beginning,
Yeah.
like once they have access and they know their students, it might change a little bit based on their student
Sure.
pages. But pretty much it's in the beginning and they all start.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Good, okay. Let's see. To new business. So, let's see. Do we want to move the order around and let folks with out-of-state field trips get up and speak real quick so they can go home? Unless you're more than welcome to stay. These are open meetings. All right, so I think first up, we've got an out-of-state field trip for Model UN.
Yep, so that one is just, I'm bringing that forward for Mr. Maloney. It's just a repeat of what we do every year. So we said some of the repeats that they wouldn't have to come in, we just kind of submit it. So it was the Model UN to the Yukon conference, and he's bringing it, it's in November, but he's bringing it now because they open registration coming up. So the information's linked into there, but I would recommend this as I do every year.
Okay. All right, you want to make, could we make a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip from all of UN?
To approve the out-of-state field trip, and I would like to thank Mr. Maloney for submitting this in all advance.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, this is great. All right, next up, we've got out-of-state field trip for the NASA New Mexico and Maine Space Conference. Mr. Gorman. New Mexico.
New Mexico, yeah.
Did I skip the new part?
Yeah, so thank you for having me back. I'm Jim Gorman. My engineering students have been involved in a project with Max IQ Space again that sponsored us through our partnership with them. About $2,000. We didn't have to pay for this whole experience. And the students were invited to design a electronic device to collect data on a NASA high altitude balloon. It's part of their NASA's rideshare program. So we're traveling along with NASA instruments on the underside, collecting data, just like they're collecting data. We just have our own little experiments we're doing. The students have been going through making that. We've been having meetings with people from around the world, trying to coordinate who's taking what data, who's doing which type of chips, so we can kind of get a good analysis. So that's going to be launching hopefully August 12th. I say hopefully because it's like a day or two, depending on the weather on either side. So we'll head out there about, August 10th, we'll head out. Looks like from Boston right now, and we'll come back on that Wednesday. Stay at a local Holiday Inn, about 30 minutes away from Fort Sumner, where they're going to launch the vehicle. And we'll actually be taking the whole payload for Max IQ out there and helping load it onto the NASA high altitude balloon. So it should be a pretty cool experience for the kids. And then that'll go, it could go anywhere between 100,000 to 130,000 feet in the air. So towards the edge of the atmosphere, it could last anywhere from 2 hours to 10 days. We're not quite sure. It all depends which balloon we get on and the experiments that they're doing on that particular balloon. We're just kind of along for the ride. We don't get to pick. But any data will be really cool, and we'll get that back hopefully in September after NASA recovers it. So
Cool.
that's the first trip.
How many students?
About 4 or 5 right now. Yep. Do you want to take a vote on that, or
I think
have
we do.
questions? And then we'll do the next one.
We'll
Or?
do the questions first, if there's any addition. All right, so we have a motion to approve the trip to New Mexico in August for the space launch, balloon launch.
Move to approve the field trip for the engineering students to travel to New Mexico for high altitude balloon launch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we're good.
Excellent,
All
thank
right.
you. And the second one I'm here for is the Maine Space Conference. We went to it last year, thank you. That was an awesome experience for the students. It was really, really one of those groundbreaking conferences, because the first time they did it, and they actually viewed the kids, the students that we had, as members of the community and not just nice little adornments on the side. Like, look, we got the kids here. They were asking for their input. They were participating in the talks. The scientists were great coming up. We even had the head of NASA STEM come by and listen to all the kids talk, give them advice on their careers and all sorts of awesome experience. And the chance the kids had to network, I didn't actually think much about it before we went, but it became a competition with the kids. How many cards could they get? How many people, contact information could they get? You know, and how many conversations? It became a whole, like the whole weekend was this whole big event on networking. And I'm like, oh, I was not expecting that experience. But when we're talking about POL, it just like, wow, it was all there for that. And so they did a phenomenal job, and we've been actually asked to come back and present again there. The students present posters. So that process just like opened up, like Mr. Maloney's did. Ours this year has switched. So last year it was we had one student that had conflict. She actually attended both conferences, so she went from one, ran up to ours. So the parents were great on getting her there, and it actually worked out really well. But this year, it's at the end of October instead of in November. It's October 23rd to October 25th. Same place last year in Portland, Maine. We'll stay in the Maine Conference Hotel, which worked out really well last year. So.
Any questions? All right, do you have a motion to attend the main space conference in October?
I move to approve the request for the main space conference from October 23rd to October 25th.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good, great.
So thank you.
Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the superintendent evaluation. Carrie, in the water?
Ready, all 9 pages of it, are you all ready?
Cheryl, your presentation's gonna look short.
Yeah, no, are you putting a timer on me now?
No.
I'm going to start out by thanking my fellow committee members. I think this is the first time since I started that everybody participated in the evaluation, so thank you very much. And aside from somebody who shall go nameless, who gave me a lovely Mother's Day gift yesterday. Most were even in early enough. So I will apologize to everyone. I haven't digested this enough to actually be able to speak without reading. I will be reading quite a bit of this. Anyhow, I'm going to start by reviewing the process for those who aren't familiar. The superintendent evaluation typically consists of determining the performance of a set of professional practice standards and also on a set of goals and objectives for the district. Goals are defined by the superintendent in conjunction with the superintendent evaluation subcommittee and approved by the school committee at the beginning of the year. The professional practice standards are defined by the state. At the beginning of this evaluation period, Dr. Cohen conducted a self-assessment to evaluate goals and tasks which were anticipated to be required for the district in the coming year. With the help of district administrators and school leadership, Dr. Cohen then proceeded to define goals and objectives and conduct plan development to understand what could be accomplished in the coming term. These goals and objectives were discussed and approved by the school committee. Over the course of this year, Dr. Cohen and her administration have worked on the implementation of these plans to achieve the defined goals. And we're here today to discuss the evaluation of the results of Dr. Cohen's performance on these goals and objectives during the past year. Established goals developed by Dr. Cohen and approved by the school committee included 1 professional practice goal, 1 student learning goal, and 2 district improvement goals. Each school committee member has separately evaluated Dr. Cohen's performance, and the superintendent evaluation committee has compiled the summary of their responses for presentation to you today. The evaluation ratings are as follows: exceeded, met, significant progress, some progress, and did not meet. Looking at goal 1, a professional practice goal, which was to expand upon communication strategies. The wording of this goal is as follows: in order to continue to build trust and strengthen relationships with Mendon-Upton parents, families, and community stakeholders, I will continue to learn about and expand upon communication strategies related to budget, capital planning, school home engagement, and crisis communication. The school committee has given Dr. Cohen an overall rating of MET plus on this goal, with 2 votes of exceeded, 4 votes of MET. Comments in this evaluation section touched on efforts of Dr. Cohen to modernize communication channels with students, families, and stakeholders. Progress was highlighted in areas including website improvement, online forums, and social media presence. The implementation of e-forms at MISCO was mentioned positively with hopes for expansion to other schools. Dr. Cohen's commitment to professional development and communication strategy is noted, along with efforts to maintain relationships and to be accessible. The importance of crisis communication and transparency through improved websites was also emphasized. Advice put forth by the committee was minimal, with expectations stated for continued improvement, including a hope to see more press releases, direct communication with parents, and engagement with teachers on direct district strategy. Goal number 2, which is a student learning goal of deeper learning. Wording for this goal is as follows: in order to ensure students are increasingly exposed to learning experiences that pique their curiosity, connect real-world issues and applications, and develop habits and skills that will benefit them in pursuits beyond the classroom. I will work with leaders and educators to expand our understanding of deeper authentic learning and to continue to develop instruction strategies and opportunities that will lead to students increasingly accessing these experiences. On this particular goal, the school committee rates the progress of Dr. Cohen as exceeded, with 4 votes for exceeded, 2 votes of met. Reviewers touched upon Dr. Cohen's dedication to student learning and the strategies she's implemented to engage students in meaningful experiences. They highlighted Dr. Cohen's use of various programs, frameworks, tools, and data sources to create a comprehensive strategy supporting student learning through their educational journey. Recent realignment of initiatives, including Portrait of a Learner, project-based learning units, Project Lead the Way, and the learner workshops were mentioned specifically, and reviewers believe these initiatives will help showcase the excellence of both students and educators within the district. The school committee acknowledged the collaborative efforts of other stakeholders within the district, including Dr. Patrick, Ms. Terrell, administrative teams, and educators. Advice on this particular goal focused on continued improvement, particularly in systematic enhancement of project-based learning and deeper learning experiences across grade levels. One reviewer expressed concern that a method to better capture student experiences in deeper learning hadn't been established yet, which makes it a little bit challenging to measure the effectiveness of district efforts in this particular area. Goal number 3, which is the district improvement goal and was crisis planning. The wording for this particular goal is as follows: in order to keep our students, staff, and community safe while also adhering to federal, state, and local laws, conduct a comprehensive review and revision of our crisis protocols in collaboration with safety officials. The school committee rates Dr. Cohen's progress on this particular goal as met, with one rating of exceeded and 5 met. Comments acknowledge Dr. Cohen's efforts, including attending safety trainings and leading initiatives to update crisis plans across the district. Despite the fact that some noted benchmarks have not yet been met, it was also noted that many were on track to be completed and some were outside of Dr. Cohen's control. The safety and security reviewed as foundational with an emphasis on leveraging data for better discipline strategies. Another area what highlighted was the seeking of grants for security improvements. Reviewers commend Dr. Cohen's proactive approach to staying current with threat trends. Advice offered in this area encouraged ongoing vigilance and proactive measures, and a hope that this will be a multi-year project, and expressing anticipation for further progress over the coming years. Goal number 4, which was the district improvement goal of capital planning. The wording for this goal is as follows: in order to ensure that students are provided with safe and up-to-date facilities that facilitate teaching and learning, a capital improvement plan will be created and communicated that addresses current and future facility needs. School committee rates overall progress for Dr. Cohen on this goal as met, with 1 rating of exceeded and 5 of met. Comments were generally supportive of the progress made in this goal. Dr. Cohen was praised for her efforts in preparing the district's capital plan, highlighting her dedication to various tasks such as learning about the MSBA application process, evaluating school capital needs, collecting community feedback, and drafting the plan. The reviewers commend Dr. Cohen's collaboration with Mr. Byer in creating a realistic action plan based on facility assessments. Summary of advice, feedback was largely positive, so there wasn't a lot to provide in this area, with the exception that one reviewer expressed some concern about feedback from community and staff of the future for Misco Hill, and would like to see this addressed in the future. That ends the summary for the 4 goals. Moving on to this learning standards. Standard number 1, which is instructional leadership, which speaks to promoting the learning and growth of all students and the success of all staff by cultivating a shared vision that makes powerful teaching and learning the central focus of school. School committee provides an overall rating for Dr. Cohen in this standard as exemplary. with 3 votes of exemplary and 3 of proficient. Reviewers acknowledge Dr. Cohen's investment in developing a shared vision and effectively communicating it to both administrators and staff. It's believed that this showcases a commitment to fostering a culture of collaboration and authentic learning experiences. Additionally, Dr. Cohen was recognized for assembling a highly effective central office team, which was believed to reflect positively on her leadership abilities. Furthermore, reviewers expressed appreciation for Dr. Cohen's efforts to engage with administration in candid conversations outside of formal meetings, as well as her ability to maintain integrity and purpose during difficult conversations. Summary of advice in this area highlights the importance of understanding and addressing all aspects of academic performance and not just selective results. Specific recommendations included enhancing the faculty's adoption of data-informed decision-making, improving collaboration through engagement and outreach, and focusing on meeting the needs of special education students. Additionally, there was a call for more transparency in the evaluation process and a curiosity about steps taken by Dr. Cohen to address challenges faced by administrators. Standard number 2 was operations and management, which speaks to promoting the learning and growth of all students and the sources of all and the success of all staff by ensuring a safe, efficient, and effective learning environment, using resources to implement appropriate curriculum, staffing, and scheduling. The committee rates the performance of Dr. Cohen on this standard as proficient, with 6 ratings of proficient. Overall, Dr. Cohen was praised for creating an excellent management team with highlights including advantageous hiring decisions and the implementation of a district testing calendar. Reviewers also acknowledged Dr. Cohen's efforts in developing consistent budget presentations, the progress in collaborative budget planning with the towns, and capital planning efforts. Advice for this area included suggestions to consider better budgeting software for transparency and easier expense tracking. And additionally, there was an emphasis on the need to prioritize management of faculty who may be struggling with implementing IEPs. And finally, it was noted the importance of visually representing schools as safe and inclusive spaces was emphasized. Standard number 3 was family and community engagement, which reads as promoting the learning and growth of all students and the success of all staff through effective partnerships with families, community organizations, and other stakeholders who support the mission of the school district. The committee provides Dr. Cohen with an overall rating of exemplary in this area, with 3 votes for exemplary and 3 votes of proficient. Overall, reviewers commend Dr. Cohen's focus on engagement with community stakeholders, families, and communication efforts through press releases on the website. Rebranding efforts and collaborative budget development processes under Dr. Cohen's leadership have positively impacted the district's image in the community. Additionally, Dr. Cohen is praised for her excellence in providing quick and accurate feedback to parents, showcasing her strong leadership in this area. Very little advice provided in this area, although several raters noted the potential for an exemplary rating during the next evaluation cycle, given the improvements in consistency. Standard number 4 was professional culture, which reads as promoting success for all students by nurturing and sustaining a school culture of reflective practice, high expectations, and continuous learning for staff. The school committee rates Dr. Cohen's performance as proficient plus, with 2 exemplary, 3 proficient, 1 needs improvement. Reviewers commended Dr. Cohen's ability to establish a solid culture within the district and her commitment to high standards. Additionally, Dr. Cohen is praised for her professionalism as a superintendent and holding her leadership team to high standards. There's also some excitement about initiatives like Portrait of a Learner and Mastery Transcript work, indicating optimism about their potential impact on the district. Committee expressed some concern about the importance of gaining full buy-in from teachers and addressing any discontent that may arise from some of the ongoing negotiations. Additionally, there's a call to bridge the gap between innovative programs and daily teaching practices, prioritizing consistent teaching excellence throughout the year. An overall evaluation summary highlighted 5 areas of review for Dr. Cohen. First area being communication and stakeholder engagement. Dr. Cohen's efforts to modernize communication channels with students, families, and stakeholders were positively acknowledged, with progress noted in website improvement, online forums, and social media presence. Reviewers expressed satisfaction with ongoing goals for improvement in communication strategies. Second area that popped out was student learning and engagement, with Dr. Cohen's dedication to student learning and engagement is praised, with commendation for implementing strategies such as project-based learning units, Portrait of a Learner initiative, and collaboration with stakeholders to enhance student experiences. The third area, to sort of summarize our reviews, was safety and crisis management. There is acknowledgement of Dr. Cohen's proactive approach to safety and crisis management, including safety trainings and updating crisis plans across the district. Fourth area was capital planning. In this area, it was consistently stated that Dr. Cohen's efforts in preparing the district's capital plan are recognized with praise for collaboration and realistic action planning based on facility assessments. Final area was management and leadership, where Dr. Cohen was commended for creating an excellent management team and fostering a solid culture within the district. Her professionalism and commitment to high standards are highlighted, along with her leadership in implementing initiatives like Portrait of a Learner and Mastery Transfer. Summary of advice throughout the evaluation emphasized the need for continued improvements in communication efforts, including press releases and direct engagement with parents and teachers. There's a call to enhance project-based and deeper learning experiences across all grade levels while addressing concerns about capturing student experiences effectively. Additionally, recommendations including better budgeting software, prioritizing faculty support with individualized IEPs, and ensuring schools are perceived as safe as inclusive spaces. Overall, raters consistently express their gratitude for Dr. Cohen's leadership and contributions to the district.
Thank you. Very well done.
Can I drink some water?
So
Was that fast enough?
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's a very great review and very well deserved.
Nice job putting that together, Carrie. That's really well done.
Yeah,
How
nice job.
you
I used
summarized.
Sure.
I mean, that was really impressive, like summary. A lot of stuff to bring together.
Well, and I will say, I think this speaks, I think, positively to how you're viewed by the school committee. There was a lot that people wanted to say, so there's no way I could have summarized it on my own. So thank goodness for AI to help me with that. There was a lot of participation.
Appreciate it. And, look forward to having, when I'm able to read through that. To take notes, because, but
I didn't
like.
keep up, I don't.
I did, but no, I appreciate, I know it takes I've been in your shoes of evaluating a superintendent. I know it's not an easy thing to do. We try to give you as much evidence and info at meetings and, to give you a sense of what's going on. But I sincerely, appreciate that you all took the time to, do the comments and take the time to look at everything. So that means a lot to me as well, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Such the. That's Carrie.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. That's great. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, so we wrap up here, school committee, subcommittees. Jim, you want to update on our last capital planning meeting?
Sure. The capital planning subcommittee met this past Wednesday. We discussed the latest draft of the capital planning, the capital plan and timing of projects. In relation to identifying various sources of funding for the projects. There was some discussion on what the best visual model would be for presenting the information to the public. So we reviewed some software, Open Architects and Open Gov. We're not ready to move forward with either of those at this point. But hopefully at some point in the future, when we're closer to bringing it to the community.
Cool. Sure. I don't think there's any updates from the budget subcommittee. Sean's not here, but we haven't met recently and there's no plans to meet until next fall. Policy subcommittee, Vicky?
Not met since the last meeting and we have not scheduled our next meeting.
All right. Well, since you got the floor.
For negotiations, we met with Rhoda on May sixth, and we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow.
So I guess next up, we've got the Golden Apple Subcommittee. The deadline for submissions is this Friday.
We have, I think, about 50 here, so last time I checked, I didn't open it up.
Okay, so send out a few reminders this week. Maureen has shared the nomination spreadsheet, what we've got so far. So I guess the next step is for the school committee to get together folks who'd like to volunteer for the Golden Apple Subcommittee. It looks like there's a proposal for some times next week. I'm in Las Vegas for all 4 dates. We got Monday at 6, Tuesday at 7:30, Wednesday at 6, or Thursday at 6:15. We'll have a quick discussion or. Go ahead.
No, I'm not saying.
Okay.
No, what I was gonna say was right. Yeah. And if it's too hard to pick the date right now, as long as we have it by tomorrow, you could kind of put it in there or send me the dates by tomorrow. That's fine too. We just need enough lead time because we have to order, it's customized. And we would typically do it at the first June meeting because we know that everyone's, gonna be here. Our second one's like right at that end of the school year. So we try to do it. So we just need enough time to be, that's why we want to get it done next week.
When is the second negotiations? As of right now.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was wondering if it was that 21st, which is that why I put six?
It is.
Is it? So that I'd just say, you may want to stay away from that date, it'd be a long day, but you could, so I put an hour after would be typically be done.
All right.
Yeah, I can do it.
I can do Monday or Tuesday. Can't do Thursday.
Well, we got 3 people that can do Monday or Tuesday, so.
I prefer the Tuesday, I like to stack get it all in. The way I.
Oh, some of you want to volunteer to bring the pizza too?
I can do that. In between.
All right, you want to do Tuesday at 7:30 then, guys? We'll be here.
It's up to
We
you.
got 4 people that it seems to work for.
Maybe we do like a virtual. That make it easier. Besides me, clearly since I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, if we did that, we may have to slightly adjust the time, but we could communicate it just so, because we'd be here, so we'd have to, ideally we could get home after negotiations, but as long as it doesn't run too long.
No,
after
that's
it
fine,
ends.
actually, I'll be.
But we could do that, so.
No. It would be, would we do it at this time?
Yeah. But we could try to, have it and just have it be virtual.
No, that's okay. That's actually probably what's better. Person I'll be thinking.
So Tuesday, 7:30 at Misco. Okay. Great, and Jen's bringing pizza.
There you go.
Good to
Do it.
know.
All right. All right, I don't think there's any other matters that we didn't anticipate in the last 48 hours to discuss. Some of the future agenda items we have are district goals, collective bargaining, and student support services. And with that, per exception number 3, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair declares. We have a motion to adjourn.
So go to executive session.
She's actually just. All right, second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Um,
Aye. And we adjourn to executive session.
Roll call.
Aye,
Yeah.
thank you. Jim,
Jim Ford, yeah.
Hagan, aye.
Eric, Ron, aye.
Thank you, Levin, tonight.
Jerry Lawrence, aye.
All right, and we're now at executive session at 8:00.